My 2000 Holiday Rambler Endeavor is for sale, so in today's video we're going to do a walk around inside and outside, both with the slides out, with the slides in, and show the bays, show the roof, and I'm going to go through all of the different things that you should know about this RV if you're interested in it. And also this is going to be a review of all of the different things that I have done to this RV over the years, which are extensive. I know that this is going to be a long video, but I hope that you're going to find it informative. There's a lot of information in here because there's a lot of stuff that we've done to the RV. A few basic stats. Like I said, this is a 2000 Holiday Rambler Endeavor. It is a 40-foot long RV. It is a diesel pusher with a Caterpillar 3126B engine, rated at 330 horsepower. The RV has a bit over 125,000 miles. It has an Onan Quietdiesel 7500 generator on it, which has something a bit over 2,700 hours on it right now. We have owned this RV for a little bit over 3 years, and in that time period, most of the videos on my YouTube channel have been dedicated to the various repairs, upgrades, and modifications that I have done to this RV. Before we get going, one thing I would like to point out is this shop. I'm not trying to brag about my shop, but I do want to point out that this RV has been kept inside in my climate-controlled shop for almost the entire time that we've owned it. I believe it was February of 2021 when it first moved in. This is huge. Most RVs sit outside, many of them sit uncovered, and that is the worst thing that you can do for an RV during storage. It inevitably leads to water penetrating the roof, into the sides, into the RV, and when that happens, an RV that looks wonderful on the outside can end up costing you thousands and thousands of dollars, or if you're like us, hundreds of man-hours worth of labor to repair the damage that you found. I feel confident in saying that you will not find another RV of this vintage that has been better taken care of or more upgraded on the market, period. My family and I hate to see this RV go after all the work that we've put into it. However, we have decided that RVing is here to stay within our lives, and as our kids are getting bigger, we wanted to get an RV that has bunks. So we're upgrading to a 45-foot RV that has the triple bunk setup so that the kids will have their own place, and we're going to have a little bit more space for ourselves. I'm not going to tell you what that RV is just yet. I'm going to do some videos about it in the future when I get it, but know that we're not selling this because we're getting out of RVing or because we've gotten frustrated with it. It's actually quite the opposite. We love it so much that we're going to upgrade. I know that whoever buys this RV is going to be happy with it. If you look down in the description, you're going to see both my asking price, an email address where you can contact me, and then also a full list written out of everything that we've done to it. As the video goes through, I'm going to try to put in links. I think they'll be up here or maybe up here to different videos on the different upgrades, projects, repairs that I have done over the years. Not everything has a video associated with it, but if there is a video, I'm going to post a link to it. Even after this RV is sold, I hope that it'll be useful for you if you're considering buying an RV like this, or maybe if you already own one, because it might give you some ideas for things that you can do, how you might want to address certain repairs, and give you an idea of what is possible. If I think about how this RV was when I first got it over 3 years ago and compare it to today, it's like a completely different RV. It drives better, it's more functional inside, it's more comfortable when it's both hot or cold out. We're really happy with all of the upgrades that we've done to it. So with that, I'm going to get into the walk around of this RV. If there's anything that you have a question on, you can put it down below in the comments, or you can send me an email. I'd be happy to discuss any questions that you have. So with that, let's get going. I'm going to start with a quick exterior walk around. We just took some of the pictures that we're going to use for the standard for sale ads, and show you some of the features and let you see how nice this thing looks from the outside. Up front, you can see that it's got the updated headlights, which I did a video on. Another feature that I really like about this RV that it came with that I did not do is this front bumper. I added this front hitch, which we use for a bike rack for bicycles for the kids, but this is really thick steel that ties into the frame that the previous owners did. When you think about how this RV and most like it are fiberglass front ends, this steel bumper adds a whole lot of extra protection in case you ever have some sort of a fender bender. And you can also see that I upgraded the driving lights with LEDs. The headlights are HIDs, both for the high beam and the low beam, and when you turn on the high beams, the low beams stay on as well. You've also got the halos. It's just a nice update for this RV. This RV was repainted at some point. The year 2015 comes to mind, but it was before my ownership. And you can see that the paint's in good condition. One of the other nice things is that they painted the slides as well. The original color was white, but they used the same light green base color on the slides, so it doesn't look like it's been a repaint. A lot of people we get a lot of compliments on how nice the paint looks. The RV has been used though, so you do see some marks here and there. Like there's that mark there from a scrape. On the other side there's a few more scrapes that we've gotten, but overall it's in good condition. You can see that there's a couple of little dings here and there in the bay doors, and then you see that there's one mismatched latch. That still uses the same key as all of the others, but one of the original latches broke and I had to replace it. That's why it's a mismatched one. I almost forgot to mention the tires. Up here in front we've got Michelin XRV 305 70 22.5. They only have about 8,000 miles on them with a 2021 date code. Over here in back are the super singles, also Michelin's. I'm not sure of the exact mileage on them. Dates I believe were 2017 or 2018, so a little bit older, but still have tread on them and in good condition. You can also see the hubcaps that I added. These, I personally really like them. My intention with them was a combination of aesthetics and then also to help streamline the air a little bit going into this vent, or this hood scoop. And this hood scoop here is something that I added to try to get basically some cleaner, more consistent air and a little bit of extra air pressure going into the air filter and onto the inlet side of the turbo. That actually reduced my EGTs by about 100 degrees or so, depending on where the wind was coming from and things like that. Another thing that I'd like to point out over on this side, and this is something that these RVs did not have from the factory. If you take a look, you'll see that these awnings fully go past the slide, and they do that on both front and back of the slide. From the factory, the awnings actually only cover up to about the outer, they leave about 2 or 3 inches on the front and the back open. And what that does is that whenever it rains, that lets rain get onto the slide, which inevitably goes back and into the slide. We think that that is ultimately what caused the significant water damage that caused us to have to remodel the interior shortly after getting it. So this was something that we did at about the same period, was we redid the awning material. It's vinyl, and it holds up well to rain, but the most important part is that it actually covers the entire slide so that when rain's coming down, it's not gonna just keep on falling on the RV. On the back you can see the Airtabs vortex generators. This was one of the modifications I did that I feel like this is probably the best value of anything that I did on this RV. Very low effort to do, and it absolutely improved the stability, especially in windy conditions, passing trucks on 2-lane roads. Something I forgot to mention up front, but want to point out and carries around the entire bus. You can see that the marker lights up at the top, and this is up at the top here in the back, in the front, and on the sides. Those have been updated. I put a smoke-colored lens on them, gives it a more modern look, and the marker lights are all LEDs. The side markers, which are also turn signals, those I had to keep incandescent, and that had to do with some of the electrical characteristics of the bus. If you're interested, I can explain more about why that was, but they're LEDs in the back and in the front, incandescents on the side. I also updated the third brake light. That's a new one that has LEDs on it, and you can see as well the updated tail lights. This was another simple modification that really helped to make the bus look newer and more up to date. And of course, gotta have cat pride for your 3126B. I redid the exhaust basically from the turbo down pipe towards all the way out to the back. Originally, the exhaust pipe was out the side. This is a 5-inch turn down, gives it a more updated look. Also has a 5-inch Aero exhaust 5050 XL muffler. And you can see that I've wrapped it, and I've wrapped all the way up to the turbo in heat shield wrap. Purpose of that was to try to reduce some of the heat that is going into the cooling air before it goes to the radiator, and also to hopefully try to help a little bit with turbo lag. But an interesting side effect is that it has made the exhaust a little bit quieter. Back here you can see the electric fans. This is one of the modifications that I've done that was the most involved, and also that I'm overall the happiest with. I have a whole bunch of videos that I did on this, but these are all off-the-shelf parts. These are fan assemblies out of a Suburban. I bought brand new ones. These are Dorman replacements. And then these fan controllers are used on Mazdas everywhere, and a bunch of other applications. Again, I bought new ones. When I did this, I also replaced the radiator and the charge air cooler, so both of those are new within the past 3 years. Want to point out also that there's the factory hitch back here. This is a standard 7-pin plus 4-pin connector, so you can use that for hooking up to any trailer that you want. This is a 6-pin connector that I wired specifically for hooking up to our Land Rover, which was our Toad. Obviously that'll stay there, and you can use that if you want to make a dedicated wiring for your Toad, depending on how that works out. This is the what's called the slobber tube, which is basically the breather tube out of the engine. Normally the breather tube lets out in front of the radiator, and one of the problems with that is that when you get that little bit of oil residue, that oil residue will then go into the radiator, which then attracts and catches dirt, which plugs up the radiator, makes it perform poorly. By moving it out to the back, that puts any potential oil residue behind the bus and helps to keep your radiator clean. And my radiator and charge air cooler have been very clean since reinstalling them. Ladder up to the roof, and if you're wondering what that fan noise is that you're hearing, those are the cooling fans for the 1200 watts of rooftop solar that we have on this RV. I'll show you where those fans are and why they exist. They're for cooling the inverter. When I take the bus inside the shop, that's when I'll do a tour of the bays. Coming around on this side, 3 awnings. I will tell you that the big Carefree awning only goes out about halfway. When we bought the RV, it did not go out at all. I cleaned up the motor and it goes out about halfway. It just never got high enough on the list to do anything about, and honestly wasn't too big of a deal for us, so I never bothered to fix it any more than that. As I step back, you can see up on the roof the new Houghton Rec Pro rooftop air conditioners and heat pumps. And then you can also see the vent covers for the Fantastic Fan vents. I'll also point out that the vent for the black tank, which is just behind that roof vent here in the center, that is also new. Once again, the super singles. You can see that there are a couple of scratches on the side of this bus. We used it. But overall, I feel like the bus and the paint on it presents really well. Like I said, when we go to campgrounds, we get a lot of compliments on how nice it looks, and people oftentimes say that they wouldn't have guessed that it was a 2000 with all of the updates. I think that especially the newer paint job, the headlights and taillights, those, and then also the marker lights, I think those help a whole lot to make it look more updated. One thing I'll also add about the vent covers for the Fantastic vents is that those are designed so that you can leave your rooftop vents open even if it's supposed to rain. And we've done that, and it does work. As you can see, with them angled back, the rain would have to be coming at quite a sharp angle sideways to still end up going into the RV. So it works really nicely. and lets you keep the roof vents open. So now let's go and we'll take a walk inside. The first thing that you might notice is that the interior's been modernized versus what you would expect to find in a 2000, and it has. This has occurred in a couple of different steps. When we bought it, the previous owners had had the front seats as well as the couches and the chairs reupholstered. And this is a nice fake leather, vinyl, whatever you want to call it, that's a lot nicer than the more typical floral pattern that you might have found from the factory in these days. Both the driver and the passenger seat are supposed to pivot around so that they can be part of the living room area. I always pivot the driver's seat around and make that part of the living area. The passenger seat, we've tried a couple of times, and it seems like when they redid it, they might have gotten some of the dimensions off, and we haven't been able to make it pivot successfully. Up front, you can see the driver's station. I want to make a note, the steering wheel does not come with the bus. I'm going to put the original steering wheel back on. I love this steering wheel. I'm keeping it. Last time I had one of these and I sold the vehicle it was on, I had a really hard time finding another one. But we've updated the stereo up here, and one thing I want to point out is that this stereo powers these two speakers, and then there's another couple of speakers in the bedroom. And then another thing I did was that this was the original TV cabinet, and I added a non-vented subwoofer through here, and that gives really nice sound for the driver. These speakers are kickers. I upgraded those both front and rear. I think it was the first winter that we had the bus. This television is also upgraded. We did that, I want to say, 2 years ago. Originally there was a CRT TV in here, and the previous owners had put a flat screen on, but by the time we got the bus it was an older flat screen, I want to say 2010. So this is a smart TV, has built-in Netflix, can connect to Wi-Fi, all kinds of things. So anything that a normal modern smart TV does, this one will do. This TV is connected to a 4.1 soundbar. You've got the soundbar here in the front, and then the other two speakers are back here by the dining table, and then there's the subwoofer that goes with those. We have curtains that we put in, that we updated, that wrap around to cover the windshield. And then we have these curtains additionally that we can close while driving if I'm still driving and the kids need to go to sleep. One of the things that we did was we significantly updated the cabinets. So when we bought this, these were the standard kind of brown honey oak that you found in those the time when this was made. And so we decided to go with a bit more of a maritime theme. So you can see we put these compass rose door pulls all throughout. Actually, these are also compass rose door pulls up here. And then we painted these the lighter green with the darker green for the base cabinets. This is real tile that we put for both either side of the slide here. And then you can see that this goes the whole way throughout the backsplash. And when my wife did this, she got the specific mortar and grout that was intended to stay flexible for this sort of an application, and I can't remember all the details of it. But in basically 40,000 miles since we did this tile, we've had zero problems with it. And if you look closely, you'll see there are no cracks. At least if there is one, I haven't seen it. So it's held up really well. We also updated the light fixtures on either side of the main couch here. All of the bulbs in here are LED. Those are LED bulbs. These overheads, these are all LED bulbs. These light fixtures were originally fluorescents, and I've updated them with LED light strips. They're more of a warm white as opposed to a daytime white, so nice when you're inside in the evening trying to get ready for bed. We updated that light fixture as well. Once again, LED light. This bed here is a sofa bed. Just to pull out. Really easy to do. This flips over, makes for a nice mattress. This is where our girls would sleep, and our son would sleep over here on the chase couch. Chase couch, the center folds down, and you've got cup holders with a little pocket. And then down here is a drawer for storage. One of the things that I should point out about this couch that I really like is that when the slide is in, you can actually still fold this couch out fully and use it as a sofa bed. This is one of the features we really love about this bus, is just how usable it is with the slides in. And when I put this in the shop and I do some more video, I will do some with the slides in and show you what it looks like. Storage is really good in here. This right here is your control for the inverter as well as the slides. Here I've got one of the remotes for the air conditioners. And then you have cabinets the whole way down, cabinets here the whole way down. Again, a whole lot of storage. We updated the dining room table. This is something that we made out of a butcher block. Again, continuing the Compass Rose theme throughout the bus. The range is a 3-burner with an oven. The igniter does not work on these, so we have to light it with a lighter, but the stove otherwise works just fine. The microwave also looks just fine, but this top part has fallen off. And this button for the fan is also loose, but it does still work. One of the things that you might have noticed is that there's a different flooring for the back of the bus, and when I say back of the bus, I mean from the couches back versus the front here. And this, I have a bunch of videos on this enormous project that we did where we had significant water damage from the main slide that had completely rotted the subfloor. And we originally discovered this when my wife fell through the floor, something that she 3 years later still reminds me of, right in front of the bathroom. And what had happened was the subfloor had just gotten very, very rotted from water damage that had come in over the course of the RV's life. We completely replaced the subfloors. It's all new. It's all been covered with Red Guard, so the floors should be very solid. No worries about falling through the floor again. But when we put down this flooring, which is genuine bamboo, we decided to stop here just because it was getting where we'd been working on this for a very long time. We were about ready to start on our next trip, and we decided that we would just get to the front of it later. We did buy enough bamboo of this same type to go the whole way to the front, so that bamboo will be included with the sale of the bus so that you can do the front if you so choose. That said, this is genuine hardwood. There's nothing wrong with it either, but it would be nice if it all matched. There was a lot that we did as part of this remodel. You can see that there's a nice residential refrigerator here, but one of the things that we did do, and something that we have been perfectly happy with, is we deleted the propane heater that from the factory was underneath. By deleting the propane fridge and the propane heater, we were able to significantly better insulate the RV. It stays noticeably warmer in the cold months and cooler in the warm months because the vents that go with the propane heater as well as the propane fridge are not very well sealed, and they let a whole lot of air through into the bus. Another thing that this did was we were able to clean out a whole lot of mildewy, moldy insulation that existed in the sides. Watch the videos that I'm linking to see some more details on this. But this is the kind of thing that probably most of these RVs have hiding in them if they're completely original. And I can tell you that after we did this, we had been noticing a sort of mildewy smell, and it completely went away afterwards, which has been a wonderful thing. We also tore out these walls, which we replaced. You can see we do still have some remnants of some sticky pads. We were hanging up the kids' drawings and things like that, and there were a couple of screw holes where we had accidentally tried to drill in but had gotten the location wrong. The wood behind this wall is not on a standard 16-inch center or anything like that like you'd have in a house. But you just put other pictures or things up like that. Another thing that my wife did was put this pattern paper on the sliding door that separates the front from the back, and she continued this through the back, as you'll see in a bit. Again, the bamboo flooring continues through here in the back. You can see the updated vanity where we continued the maritime theme, this time with turtles. My wife really loves turtles. And we updated this just with a nice tile and a stone vessel sink, as well as a new faucet. One of the other things that we didn't like about the RV when we got it and have since updated was the shower was extremely small. Extremely small. It was a 32-inch dimension shower. We have updated it. This is a 36-inch quarter round, semicircle, whatever you want to call it, kind of shower. And we also put in this gooseneck shower head. I love this because I'm actually able to stand under it. I'm a little bit over 6 feet tall, and I have plenty of room to stand up fully and wash my hair. A lot of RVs, the shower heads are just really far down, and you have to crouch down to wash your hair if you're tall, which I did with the original one. So we did all of this. It still has the wand for either if you prefer that for showering or for washing the shower. This has a solid base that we mortared in. We've had zero problems with it since we did this. Here, once again, continuing the maritime theme, and in here you've got the Splendide 7100 combination washer dryer. This is a ventless dryer. It's all-in-one, does the washing and the drying. One thing I'm going to point out right here above it is this power conditioner. And the purpose of the power conditioner is to help to clean the power before it goes into the washer. One of the things that these Splendides are known for having problems with is being very sensitive to how noisy the power signal is. And the problem that we were having with it was that under certain conditions, the lock would just kind of go crazy and start clicking on and off. I put this in and that solved the issue almost entirely. So that was a simple solution. You can also see we updated just the wallpaper on the surround here above the washer. We have some of this grippier adhesive stuff on the bottom. Down in here is the water heater and then also a water pressure accumulator. Purpose of that is to try to reduce the cycles on the water pump while it's running. One more thing I should point out is that the water heater will run off of electricity, 110 volt, propane, or engine coolant. So if engine coolant runs through here, if you're driving down the road, then when you get someplace you will have hot water. And here's the toilet closet, which you can see has been updated. We used some more of the same tile that we used over on the vanity update. This toilet actually has completely new guts, I guess you could say, on it, and a new toilet seat. All of that is new as of about 4 months ago. Again, LED lighting. Another thing that I should point out while I'm in here is that we just did a complete flush on the black and the gray tanks. There is no smell in here whatsoever. Proper black and gray tank maintenance is important and something often overlooked, and you can get some really bad smells from those if they aren't taken care of. But we just did a full flush on these tanks and no smells at all. Going back into the bedroom, we updated around the slide with that tile and those compass roses. I will point out this mattress is not included. If our new bus has arrived before we sell this one, then we'll put the mattress from it in here. But we're going to be keeping this mattress to put it into our next bus. Over here, more cabinets for laundry and such, or whatever you want to put there. This is also a brand new television, bought about, I guess 3 or 4 months ago. Another smart TV. And one of the things that I did with this, also actually just a very recent addition before our summer trip, was I added this 2.1 clip sound bar. The subwoofer is actually located right under the bed, which gives a phenomenal bass effect when you're watching TV at night before you go to sleep. Some more of the other two speakers that are controlled by the stereo up front. And then here you've got full blackout shades, not down all the way, have it behind at the head of the bed as well. Over here are the circuit breakers as well as the house 12-volt fuses, or at least some of them. Some of them are also in the bay in front of the driver's side front wheel. Down there is the aux engine-driven coolant heater. This is something that I also replaced a couple of years ago. But something else that I did with this that's a significant improvement is that there is a solenoid valve that only lets coolant flow through the heater when you have it turned on, and the switch to turn it on is up front in the driver's station. But the factory design ran coolant through here all the time. So if it was summertime and it was 100 degrees out, you were still running coolant through here. And even though the fan wasn't running, that radiant heat just completely baked everything here in the back and the bedroom. And we would get someplace and the bedroom would just be absolutely scorching. Well, that was why, as soon as I put that solenoid valve in and made it so that the coolant was only flowing when we actually wanted the heat, it substantially improved things. Now when we get places in the summer, the bedroom is very comfortable, and we don't have to continue running the generator unless we have to, because it's just really hot. Over here we have this carpet, and then a little bit of an extra carpet that cover the engine cover. One of the engine covers, you can see that just comes up with 4 quick releases, and then there's another one in the closet. In the closet, the wiring that you see up there is for the Garmin backup camera. I'm not including the Garmin RV GPS that I've been using. However, if you have your own, you will be able to connect to this Garmin backup camera, which is a nice improvement versus the factory one. Here we put some updated carpeting on the bottom, and when you lift it up, there's the other engine access cover. We have drawers down here, and then underneath this bottom drawer is where I have some of the controllers for things like the water injection, the controller for the electric fans, and then also the extender for the EGT probe, as well as an extender for the tire pressure monitor, which, while I'm not including the tire pressure monitor that I'm using, if you get your own, it will have the extender back here already for your use. I've opened up the engine cover that's in the closet, and you can see just how much room you have to work on the engine with the mechanical fan removed. If you really felt that you needed to have the mechanical fan back on, certainly can understand that, and you could put it back on, but it makes it really easy to get to things here in the front. All of the coolant hoses on this are new under my ownership. The coolant overflow tank is new. The radiator cap is new. I use new hose clamps virtually everywhere. I replaced and I upgraded the main alternator, which was originally 160 amps. I replaced it with a 270 amp alternator, and that feeds the house side batteries only. And yes, I upgraded the wire that goes from the alternator to the battery so that I don't fry it. Down below, I have a GM 28SI alternator that I put in. That is 200 amp, and that is dedicated to the engine side. So you have nearly 500 amps of 12-volt alternator power on this RV between the two alternators. The house side is enough to run the inverter at full capacity non-stop without issue. I forget how old the belt is. I want to say probably about 30,000 miles. It was whenever I did this conversion here. And here you can see another pair of fans that I have. These are on a toggle switch that goes on and off just based off of command if you either need a little bit of extra cooling, or if you have a scenario where you want a little bit of extra cooling, say you're getting on an on-ramp and you want some more air going through the intercooler. It's hard for me to remember all of the different things that I've done to this engine over the time that I've had it. The oil and the filters have all been changed on schedule. When I had the radiators out and I was doing everything in the front, I changed this little coolant crossover tube under here that you can barely see. That was original. Like I said, all of the coolant hoses on here are new. The turbocharger is new and upgraded. I resealed the exhaust manifold when I did that as well. The engine, I did the valve lash on. I replaced the oil pump, the main bearings, the rod bearings, The list goes on, but if you see all of the links to other videos that are suggested, all of those are videos about things that I've done, and that's probably going to be the only way I can try to capture all of it. I don't think that I'm exaggerating when I say I don't think you will find a more maintained RV of this vintage anywhere. We're now back inside, and I'm going to do a walkthrough with the slides in. One thing I forgot to mention just as far as updates go is that we put things like updated outlets with USB chargers in them in a lot of places. Tried to make sure that we had the ability to charge things where we needed them. As you can see, even with the slide in, there's actually quite a bit of room, and the layout is very usable. You have plenty of room to walk from the front to the back. I'll show you the refrigerator. We have this latch on to keep it from going open while going down the road. We have those little bars that we put in front of any of the food that we have in here to try to help keep it from falling forward. But as you can see, modern refrigerator, LED lighting, works very well. As you can continue to go back to the bedroom, the queen size bed is still very accessible. Whoever's on the far side sleeping does have to either kind of crawl around or crawl over whoever's on the other side. But as far as RVs go, the functionality with the slides in I consider to be really quite good. If you look at a lot of RVs, they're essentially unusable whenever the slides are in. And for us, it was very important to have an RV that we could use going down the road, because we put a lot of miles on this, and one of the big reasons we have it is not so much for when we get to where we're going, but for the traveling as we're getting to where we're going. Let me fold this out real quick, and you can see they sized it perfectly. It just fits. You can still get past here. In fact, it was pretty common for me after I was done driving and my kids were already sleeping, if we were going down the road and stopping someplace where we weren't going to put the slides out, to just crawl back and crawl right over them, and really wasn't a problem. So when you're traveling with this RV, one of the nice things is that you don't have to find a campground or someplace where you can put your slides out every night. You can still use it almost just as well with the slides in. Now we'll do our exterior walk around with the slides in. I want to point out the windshield. Every RV at some point is likely to have windshield problems of some sort. It's very popular to see the RVs that have the big giant single pane windshields, and those look really pretty and they give a beautiful view when you're looking out from them. But it's worth noting that when you take a look at commercial bus manufacturers like Prevost, they still use a twin windshield, and that's because the twin windshield is ultimately less susceptible to problems. So I actually prefer having the twin windshield for that reason. That said, I will point out there's this little crack here that goes down the windshield on that side. It's far out of view of the driver. You really don't notice it. So I have not bothered to do anything with it. We have had these windshields reset. They popped slightly on one of our trips. This one on the driver's side, it is popped a little bit. It could potentially use a resetting. There is a shop near me that does that, who we had do it before, and they're very good to work with. Once again, with the slides in, you can see that the awnings actually cover the full slide, which helps to keep the rainwater out. That's a thing even when the slides are in, that you could potentially get water coming in on the top part and then going into the RV. Right around here, you'll see the transmission coolers. That was a modification I did. I completely divorced the transmission cooling from the engine cooling, which helped both the transmission and the engine cooling significantly. As we walk around here, one of the things that I definitely should not forget to point out is the rear sway bar. This was the factory front sway bar, and I fabricated what was needed to adapt it to the rear. That has been a fantastic modification. It's done a tremendous amount for handling. Another thing that you really can't see from here is the polyurethane motor mounts. That was another custom modification that I did. That did a tremendous amount for reducing engine vibrations inside the bus while going down the road. And then over here, these are the separate oil coolers. The 3126 does have a built-in oil cooler, but I had a friend of mine fabricate up a sandwich adapter, and so full oil flow goes through these coolers as well. It dropped the oil temperatures by anywhere from the range of about 30 to 50 degrees, depending on the condition. Again, all the coolant hoses are new. The radiator and the charge air cooler are new. Transmission, Allison 3000 transmission. This has been completely flushed and new filters with TES 295 fluid. I believe Allison says the interval on that is 250,000 miles. Once you do that, I believe this fluid has about 30,000 miles on it. I guess from this angle, maybe you can see the rear sway bar a little bit better. You can also see the hydraulic jacks, leveling jacks. This is a really simple system that I like, and they work really very well. Continuing up this side of the bus, over here is the access panel for the water heater. These used to be the access panels for the propane furnace, and then also for the refrigerator. Let me pull this off here real quick. I'll just show you. This is fully insulated now. You can see we put expanding foam insulation as well as general foam insulation. This is a little access panel within the foam for the plug for the refrigerator, so you can get to that if you need to. If you continuing to come up, one thing I should point out is that we did recover these steps. This is actually a marine material that's for use on diving decks. On the back of boats is where it's more typically used, or anywhere on the deck, and so it's both durable and it repels water nicely. We've been really happy with it. I'm going to open the access panel for the generator, but I wanted to start off with this view to point out one of the big modifications I made to the generator, which was the air spring isolators. You will never find this kind of generator mount on an RV of this type. You normally only find it on high-end Prevos and things of that sort. But that's where I got the idea from. This has done a tremendous job of isolating both noise and vibration from the generator. It makes it so much more pleasant inside when the generator is running. And when I did this, I insulated the floor of the RV above the generator. There's a whole lot of work that went into this, and I also have done a complete service on the generator within the past, I guess at this point, couple hundred hours. These air springs are connected to the main air system on the bus, fed by that, and I'll show you where the controller is for that here in a bit. You might wonder how you access your generator with this big bumper on it, and it's really not too bad. If you look down carefully, there's a bolt straight down there, and then there's another one on the other side. You unscrew those bolts, and then the bumper flips down and you have access to the generator. So I'm going to flip that down and give you a look at the generator. All right, 2 bolts, and that's flipped down. Now you've got the standard front end. Open these up, and then there's your generator. You can't see so well, but I did put some rock mat. It's basically a Dynamat knockoff all around the generator. Above the generator, I put rock mat. I also put some foam sound deadening material. You can see the sound deadening material that I put throughout the nose of the RV. And generator itself, the Quietdiesel 7500, currently sitting at 2,758 point, is that a 5 or a 3? I guess it's a 3. 2,738.6 hours. We have actually put almost half of those hours on it in our use, and the generator has been flawless. It's never let us down, and I did do, like I said, a full service, even including the valve adjustment and everything on it. Check out the video on that for more. Back here you can also see some of the hardware for the various relays and such HID controllers for the HID lights, things like that. Plenty of access. I'm not going to crawl around on the roof, but I did just want to point out a few things. Again, you can see the the vent covers for the fantastic fan vents, the new Houghton Rec Pro air conditioners and heat pumps, and then also the 1200 watts of rooftop solar, and also you can see the Airtabs across the top. I want to point out how great the rooftop solar is. With 1200 watts, we never have to run the generator unless we need air conditioning or heating. So if it's just a nice day and staying someplace where it's nice overnight, we can just leave the windows open, leave the fans on, and the solar will cover all of our needs, including toaster, microwave, coffee pot, television, anything like that. Another thing I should mention while I'm back here looking at the engine is that I replaced the harmonic balancer. That is an often overlooked item on basically all engines, but especially on these big diesels, where the silicone on the inside can harden and then they can stop damping. When I made the replacement, I noticed that the accessories vibrated significantly less at idle, and the engine actually did feel smoother. So that was another maintenance item that I did. Now let's do a tour of the bays. We'll start up here of the front on the driver's side, where you've got a bunch of fuse blocks, both for house side stuff and also chassis side stuff. You also have access to the air system, and then this is the air pressure regulator for the generator air springs. The belts that you see here are some spare engine drive belts that I have, as well as an idler pulley that I ended up deleting when I removed the mechanical fan. As we go down, you see that this bus really has a tremendous amount of storage in it. You can't see very well, but this is a pass-through bay. These first two bays are both pass-through. They go side to side for that top foot or so. And if you look carefully, you can see that's a spare tire there. I have carried a spare tire with me the whole time that we've had this bus, never needed it. This bay, we've got an extra 50-gallon water tank, which is nice because the factory water capacity of, I believe it's 80 gallons. Sometimes we wanted to have more because we like to boondock quite a bit. So this is really simple. All you need is a battery of any sort to connect to that water pump. You fill through that port there, and you also have to open that up to transfer the water, and then you have a hose that you can then just run over into the water bay here. You can either do through the gravity fill or through the normal fill. Either one's fine, but sometimes it's nice to just have that extra 50 gallons. This bay is not passed through, but something that I'll point out is that the fresh water tank is up here, and one of the things that I did is I added electric heat pads to both the freshwater tank and then also to the gray water tank. This little box right that you see here is the controller for those to turn them on. I forget the temperature I have it set at, but basically to help keep it from freezing. And the switches for those are over here, and I just turn them all on at once. Actually, if you turn them all on, you'll see that the controller turns on, and the reason it says 18.7 is because it reads in Celsius. It is not that cold. Another thing I did to help keep the water from the freshwater tank from freezing is this valve here. So this is a valve that when those little electric sticky pad heaters are on, it will also open up this valve, and the valve is connected to the hot water side, so coming off of the water heater, and then it will just run a small amount of hot water back into the freshwater tank. And we've driven when it's been as cold as 13 degrees Fahrenheit out, and we have never had a problem with that, with the water freezing out. Here you can see I've upgraded the water pump. It is a 55 psi 3 gallon per minute pump. The factory is 45 psi and 2.5 gallon. But otherwise, you can see here's the water bay. This bay is more of a industrial bay. that's the tank that holds the transmission fluid, which is used for the hydraulic jacks. Really simple system. There's the air-water separator, or the air dryer rather, for the air system. And then back there is the water separator for the engine, so also known as the first fuel filter. All filters I've changed on schedule. I changed everything when I first got the bus, and have changed them on schedule since. Back here you've got the main 50 amp electric hookup. Here is also your plug-in for your block heater. That's something else I replaced, and that was not fun to do. But that plugs into right here. This outlet is only active when either the generator is on or you're plugged into shore power, so you're not going to run your batteries dry by trying to use your engine block heater. This water tank here is for the water methanol injection for the engine. That was another more recent modification, but it does take up a lot of space. If it's something you're not interested in, I'm happy to remove that system before you take delivery. Coming around to the passenger side, these rear two bays are both electrical related. Here's your Magnum 3000 watt inverter, and then over here is your inverter for a charge controller for the 1200 watts worth of rooftop solar. When I was outside earlier and I mentioned about the fans that were going on, I have two cooling fans that are located right behind that inverter, controlled by another one of those temperature switches up there, and those help to make sure that the inverter gets fresh, stays cool when it's operating. Worth noting that when this bay is sealed, or when this bay is closed, it shouldn't be getting very much fresh air. So I drilled a hole into the side and put an air filter in here to allow fresh air to come in when those fans are going. Close this bay up. One thing I'll point out, these bays open and close really solidly. If you get to a lot of different RVs, the bays feel really flimsy, and these do not at all. Here's the battery bay. I have replaced both the house batteries and the chassis batteries. I will say that the house batteries probably are getting pretty weak and would be worth considering replacing. They do still work, but they don't hold as much power as they used to. As you go up, this bay has your access to your propane, and with the bay door closed, you can see this is where you don't have to open the bay to get to your master on-off or to your propane fill. Now that we don't have the propane heater anymore, we go through very, very little propane. The tank, I think, is 3/4 full. Again, another bay that's not a pass-through bay. This is the freshwater tank, but good size. And then you've got these two forward bays, pass-through one up here, and then another pass-through up here. In that black bag is the mechanical fan that was on the engine originally. I'm including that so that if that's something that you would rather put on, you have that in the hardware. I also have the fan shroud, and you can have that if you'd like it as well. But once again, another bay door that closes nice and solidly. This RV really has a tremendous amount of storage on it. In it, you could almost argue that it's got too much storage. Sometimes I feel like we're invited to take too much stuff with us on RV trips because of how much storage that we have. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching this video on my Holiday Rambler Endeavor. Whether you're interested in buying it or you're just looking to get some inspiration for your own RV or ideas of things that you might want to look at, I hope that it's been useful. Once again, feel free to leave any questions down below in the comments, or you can send me an email. I look forward to hearing from interested buyers, and I know that whoever does end up buying this is going to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing it go off to its next home.